Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute. Can you blame me? There's been a lot going on and we are going to talk about it. For those who are new here, I'm Mystic Brew, founder of Return to Self, and this is my new series, Hot Girl Math, where we do Hot Girl Math. What is Hot Girl Math? It is energetic equations. It is looking at the patterns that we are being shown and putting them together to understand as best as we possibly can what is going on. If you are here right now wondering what the actual is happening right now, if you're experiencing a crumbling, everything you thought was true is no longer true for you, you are not paranoid, you are not overthinking, you're simply paying attention. And that might feel like a really big burden right now with everything that's been exposed. But I'm here to remind you that the world we're living in is not falling apart. It's falling together. And I'm going to give you very different but connected examples of how that is. But before we get into that, I need you to remember something. This is not the time to shut down. This is not the time to check out, even though that might feel easy to do and enticing. It's really overwhelming. The institutions that we were taught to trust, we are learning are untrustworthy. We were just notified that the elite in the world are doing the most horrendous things that so many people just threw away as a conspiracy theory. Turns out there's some truth there. And that's what's happening. The truth is being exposed, and sometimes the truth is hard to hear. However, the truth is necessary. Many astrologers, myself included, have told you guys that this is the exposure era, and exposure means the illusions will fade. That can be disorienting because it's going to ask you to question everything that you've been taught, and it's going to ask you to show up and do your part. I know it can feel really hard to know what that part even is. You can feel powerless during this time. You can feel helpless, but that's not the truth. You actually have a lot of power at your disposal, and it's simple yet complex. And we're going to get into that as well. So, as I said, this is not the time to check out. This is the time to check in. I need you to lock in with me. This is Kobe and Shaq. This is Venus and Serena. This is Ilya and Shane, if you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. We're going to look at a specific prophecy that was coming to the forefront of my mind when thinking about the state of the world today. There's obviously a lot of prophecy that shows that the ancients knew this time was coming. And if there is one in particular that you want to share, please drop it in the comments and share with us, because I'd love to hear about more prophecy that is aligning. Alignment is the key. And if you are really paying attention, you will notice the alignment that is showing up in the most mundane ways. At the time of me shooting this, we just entered the Chinese New Year of the Fire Horse. On the same day, it was the Aquarius solar eclipse, Ramadan, Mardi Gras, and many other things. February in and of itself is one of those picture-perfect calendar months this year in the way that it shows up perfectly 4 weeks together. There is alignment happening, and we are being shown of that in many different ways. And I don't want you to forget that as we move through what can be a really uncomfortable experience of what is becoming exposed in the world that you thought you knew. We are going to talk about prophecy, and we're going to talk about 3 astrological indicators, some that are personal placements and some that are transits that are happening right now that feel really important to the energy that we are cultivating collectively. Now, if you're new to my work, you're going to hear me repeat some things, and it's because it's important. One of those things is the micro to the macro connection. Everything is connected. What is happening on a global scale right now is connected to your individual journey. If you see the themes, this is the hot girl math, if you see the patterns, pattern recognition, you will notice that what you may be experiencing in your own evolution on your own personal journey is being reflected on a mass scale and vice versa. So without further ado, let's get into some hot girl math, shall we? We are going to start with the fact that the darkness that we are seeing right now, for lack of a better term, is not new. That may not be comforting to hear. But the truth is, it is not new darkness. It is just darkness that is becoming visible. If you also know my work, you know I do a lot of shadow work. That is at the root of everything that I do. And so just as we individually go through our own shadow, our own underworld journey, in order to integrate and embody the wisdom it has to offer, so does the collective experience a shadow work integration journey. This country is experiencing it. This planet is experiencing it. And like I said, we all play a part in that. I got lots of notes, you guys, because I have a lot to say. Surprise. Let's start with the fact that the ancients knew this was coming. When it comes to prophecy, there was one specific prophecy that was coming up a lot for me that I wanted to discuss, and that was the Hopi prophecy. This prophecy originates with the white buffalo calf woman, which was a sacred figure from the Lakota tradition who appeared to the people approximately 2,000 years ago. She gifted the people the white buffalo calf pipe, which is still held today by Chief Arvol Looking Horse of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. So this is a living, unbroken lineage. And she promised to return to, quote, restore harmony to a troubled world, and said the sign of her return would be the birth of white buffalo calves. This happened in 1994 already. A white buffalo calf named Miracle was born in Wisconsin, the first since 1933. Now, against astronomical odds, this calf changed color 4 times in her lifetime, as the prophecy described. And then a second and third white buffalo were later born on the same farm. What's even more interesting is that in June of 2024, you may recall that a white buffalo calf was born in Yellowstone National Park's Lamar Valley. This was believed to be the first ever born there in recorded history, and I feel that's significant as well because it's almost like saying this calf wants to make sure y'all know they're here. Now, Chief Arvol Looking Horse presided over a naming ceremony for this white buffalo calf and ended up calling the calf Wakan Glee, sorry if I completely butchered that, which means sacred return, and named it both a fulfillment of prophecy and a warning to protect the earth. Sioux medicine man Floyd Hand said of the 1994 birth that it would, quote, affect all human beings, not just Native Americans, and that, quote, the 21st century is going to unify all of us. So again, this is one of many written prophecy that we are seeing unfold before our eyes. And I share that with you because the ancients knew this time was always coming. You knew this time was always coming. That's why you're here. And you may think you have nothing to do with this, but you play a major role in this. We all do. The Hopi believe that humanity has already passed through 3 previous worlds, and that currently we are in the 4th world preparing to birth the 5th. Allegedly, the previous 3 worlds were destroyed by human disconnection from spiritual teachings. The 9 signs of white feather, which was shared by Hopi elder White Feather in 1958, described specific events that, if you'll notice, have been fulfilled over time. He spoke of horseless wagons on black ribbons, highways, snakes of iron crossing the land, railroads, a gourd of ashes falling, the atomic bomb, and people living in the sky, the International Space Station. The Hopi described that the end of the 4th world was not necessarily an annihilation, but a purification. a separation of those aligned with spiritual truth from those lost in materialism. Many spiritual teachers and myself have talked about the split that we have been experiencing within this world. And it is getting bigger and bigger and much more palpable and visceral to the individual. Now, again, they don't use the word apocalypse. They use the word emergence. And this is an emergence into the fifth world, which makes me think of the fifth dimension, but I will save that for when we talk about the 12 dimensions. We are looking at humanity that is facing a fork in the road. This fork is branching out into one path of fear and material corruption, and one path of harmony and return to earth-based wisdom. Within your own life, you will have to make that decision of which path you align with. And again, this isn't about doom. This isn't necessarily even about predictions. This is just about navigation, giving us an ancient compass and reminding us that nothing is by chance. There is a unique, highly intelligent design that is being played out right now, and you may not see the big picture. But if you're like me, you feel alignment happening even if what you are seeing is anything but. Something that's common across a lot of prophecy is that chaos is a threshold, not necessarily a destination. You may have noticed this in your own life on your journey. There is a moment of chaos, which is the creation of all things. Every major indigenous prophecy describes some sort of upheaval as a signal of transition. So not necessarily collapse, although it can feel that way. It's transitioning. But in order for anything to change, it can feel chaotic. And again, if you think of your own personal journey, any time when you were faced with a fork in the road, any time when you made major life decisions that changed the trajectory of who you are and where you're going, there was some chaos because there's a lot of uncertainty. Right now, the corruption, the hidden darkness that's been hidden in plain sight, the broken systems, all of this has to come to light. It has to come up and be exposed in order to be transmuted. You cannot transform what you don't know exists or what you continue to question is valid. Confirmation burp. So what we are seeing right now, what's becoming visible, as difficult and heartbreaking and rage enforcing as it is part of the healing process. It is necessary. This is not a time to be passive. This is a time to really take agency over the course of not just your personal life, but what you stand for. This is an invitation and required participation for those of us who are here and a part of this turning. Now, with that said, I want to move to some astrology because, as you may know, there's a lot of astrology that we are experiencing that is life-changing. And it might feel really oversaturated, like, okay, every single week there's a life-changing transit. That's part of the experience right now. We're just as shocked. Even if we know this information, it is all, again, hot girl math pointing to something that is aligned and destined to unfold at this time, which is why your journey unfolded the way it has, because then you could be prepared for what's about to come. So let's start by talking about Pluto in Aquarius. If you are familiar with Pluto, you know it is the planet of deep transformation, of death and rebirth, of destroying what is dying so something new can emerge. The chaos we're experiencing right now is not random. Pluto's doing exactly what it's meant to do, especially in the sign of Aquarius, which centers on collective systems. Now, you may know that this transit's going to take a bit. We just started it for real. So Pluto's going to be moving through Aquarius until roughly 2044. That's about 20 years. And this is one of the most significant astrological transits of our lifetime. Some history for you. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 1777 to 1798. So what happened during that time? We saw the American Revolution. We saw the French Revolution. And we saw the birth of entirely new systems within government. Power was redistributed violently from monarchies to the people. And we're experiencing a parallel moment right now. Before Pluto was in Aquarius, it was in Capricorn from 2008 to roughly 2024-ish. This showed us the corruption of existing power structures that needed to be exposed. This was the financial collapse in 2008. This was the rise of surveillance and capitalism. Systemic institutional rot just laid bare for you to see and notice. That was the excavation phase. And now we're building what comes next. And what's interesting is both Capricorn and Aquarius are traditionally ruled by Saturn. Saturn is that planet of karma, legacy, structure, restriction, discipline. With it now in this space, which we're going to touch on in Aries, the warrior, you can see the hot girl mathing, right? We are being positioned. So we have Pluto in Aquarius, Aquarius being all about networks, all about collective intelligence, technology, decentralization, sudden transformation, innovation, liberation, both within the individual, the communities, and the collective. This is the death and rebirth of the systems that we always knew were dying and needed to be replaced. And many of us here right now, who are watching this right now, are the leaders of what's to come next. But before we get to that point, I want you to pause and look at your personal birth chart if you have it. If you need help figuring out how to do that, I have plenty of resources on my website and on my Substack, which are linked below. As I said, the macro to the micro, if you want to know your role, look at where these transits are hitting your personal chart. Where is Aquarius in your natal chart? What house does it rule? Pluto is now moving through that house. It is dismantling something that is old and dying and needs rebirth. The process that we are experiencing, again, is not separate. Just as you're going through your shadow integration, so is the world. And it's being mirrored back at you as additional reflection on your personal journey. Remember this: a free and liberated collective, a spiritually sovereign collective, is made up of free and liberated people, spiritually sovereign individuals. So the outer work that we are seeing right now within our world is a reflection of the inner work that we are doing. It's all going to the same address. So when I tell you that healing yourself heals the world, I'm not trying to just be cute and poetic, even though I am both cute and poetic. That is direction. That is reminding you that your job here is personal. It's yours. And if you feel like you don't have direction, you're just perhaps not looking in the right place because it's being shown to you. And when you get into this hot girl math energy, you will notice that the universe is always speaking to you. It is always showing you. There is no coincidence. That does not exist. That's not a real thing. The universe is continuously giving you signs, hints, moments to show you a theme, a pattern that is coming up for you. And this is what I help clients with. There's another very urgent astrological transit that we need to talk about that's actually happening in a couple of days from now when I'm recording this. And that is Saturn and Neptune meeting together at 0 degrees in Aries. This is history that you are experiencing. And you might be sick of that because I'm a millennial. I get it. We've experienced a lot of unprecedented historical things. But this is really important. With Saturn and Neptune conjuncting in Aries, this energy is going to influence us until the end of the year. The last time Saturn and Neptune conjuncted was 1989. In 1989, that was the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was also the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Tiananmen Square had its uprising at the same time. So we experienced entire paradigms crumbling during this transit. And now here we are again. The Aries point, 0 degrees, that is the very beginning. That's baby. That's fresh. This is also the beginning of the entire zodiac because Aries is the first of the zodiac. So this is reset and restart energy. This is where Saturn and Neptune will come together to create structure with Saturn and vision with Neptune. The last time they met at 0 degrees in Aries was roughly 9,000 years ago. So what we are experiencing, the initiation that we are all being called to meet at this time, is generational in the deepest sense. Now, again, Saturn and Neptune together, you wouldn't really think that they're friends, right? Because they're very different energy. We have Saturn, who's pretty rigid. It's very kind of like a bummer sometimes because it values hard work. It's not going to take your excuses. It's not going to accept any bullshit. It's like, this is what needs to get done, so figure it out. Meanwhile, Neptune's like, yo, I'm just trying to chill. Like, I'm over here just trying to be mystical and magical. It is spirit. It's also illusion. It's also the fog and dissolution. And then in Aries, so this is the hot girl math, that's initiation, identity, fire, action, leadership. So in a way, it would kind of look like Saturn plus Neptune in parentheses to the exponent of Aries equals whatever house this is happening for you. That's your personal equation. But when you bring these two seemingly contradicting energies together, and this is another theme that we are being shown at this time, you'll see how we make history. This is dreams being forged into new structures of identity and reality. So this pattern keeps showing up in history. And these conjunctions mark moments when these structures are holding illusions in place that are ready to collapse so that new forms can be birthed and clarity can emerge. If you're feeling confused and disoriented at this time, congratulations, you're human. There's really no way around it. It's a confusing time. And as much as we like to believe we know what's next and we know what to do, I fear that is not the truth. The truth is, we are in the incubator, about to birth life that we may not be completely sure what it looks like yet. But that's okay. One of my favorite quotes that I take with me all the time, because trust me, I too love a plan. I love to know what's about to happen 100 steps forward so I can prepare. That's why control is such a huge part of the shadow journey. Because what do you actually have control over? And what is actually certain? So, a quote that I will offer you that I keep with myself in those moments is, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And this is really a step-by-step type of thing. The last astrological point that I want to make is for those of us who have Pluto in Scorpio. We are the shadow healers. We have been preparing for this, whether you realize it or not. This is something that is going to unfold in a way that will help make sense of your trajectory. Because as someone with Pluto in Scorpio in my natal chart myself, I can tell you from personal experience, it's been quite a ride, as I'm sure it's been for you. For those of us with Pluto in Scorpio, you're born between roughly November 1983 to November of 1995. So you're probably in your late 20s to early 40s. But again, Pluto likes to do a little dance. It does a do-si-do. So you just have to check your chart because it may also be in Libra. Either way, we are being moved into leadership. We are being moved into positions of systemic influence. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio. So this is maximum potency. It knows how to perform in this energy because this energy is home. We were born to transform power structures from the inside out. And you may have noticed that from an early age, whether it was within your friendships, within your families, within your communities, within yourself. Some core generational traits for those of us with Pluto in Scorpio is emotional depth, shadow awareness, refusal of superficiality, and a deep drive to expose what's hidden. We're very comfortable with intensity, and we're also very comfortable with the taboo, psychological, occultist sort of way of seeing things. That's on purpose. We are meant to have the capacity to transmute this trauma, collectively and individually, into sacred purpose. We are also the generation that saw therapy become mainstream. We broke the silence on mental health. We built entire movements around trauma awareness and healing. And now we are being positioned for leadership alongside those who have Pluto in Libra. So 1971 to roughly 1983. Their mission with Pluto in Libra, justice, balance, relational transformation. Pair that with Scorpio, and we have some deep death and rebirths happening on a massive scale. We are the generation that was literally born to mandate shadow work, to give it credibility, to give it a voice, and to make it accessible for those of us who need it most. This is purposeful work. It's not just a practice. And chances are those of us who have done this work are very exhausted. We may feel conflicted. We may have had to walk through the fire time and time again, and we are just waiting for it to be done. But we are being refined and sharpened to help lead the next generation and beyond into a world that we are midwifing into life. As I mention on my Substacks from time to time, we are the alchemist. And in order to be the alchemist, you need to be able to work with fire, with the elements. And if you're going to work with it, you need to be comfortable getting close to it. Our whole lives have been preparing for that. Now, just some quick things that I do want to make note of that I want us to really be mindful as we move into these roles and as we watch what unfolds next. When it comes to shadow work, and I share this with people on their personal journeys, Something that can become challenging is stepping into power, whether it's your personal power or power within a community, within another dynamic, without replicating the power dynamics that we were born to dismantle. It is really easy to become the monster that you try to heal from. We do it more often than we'd like to admit. And so as we move into these spaces, again, whether it's personal, collective, both, you need to tap in and be honest and clear with yourself to make sure that you are using your power for collective healing rather than just personal survival. Because when it is aimed at personal survival, you will grab at whatever tools you have near you, and what you have near you is what you've always experienced. And if what you've always experienced is harm, is manipulation, is ways of being that perpetuate the pain, the trauma that you claim to be getting rid of, you will embody it and you will practice it. Don't become the problem when you know you're part of the solution. The world that we are birthing is going to be built by people who are ready to dismantle and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's going to be built by those of us who grew up always knowing that something was deeply and inherently wrong with the way that we were doing things, and have spent our whole lives trying to transform whatever was within reach to build a world that actually made sense for the world and not just for a select group of people. What I wanted to share with you today is the simple yet complex, linear through line that what we are experiencing is old darkness finally becoming visible. Ancient wisdom that always knew this moment was coming. The stars confirming the timing of what we are witnessing. And the fact that you were born for this. And that's why you're here right now. You're not just a bystander in what's happening. You are an active participant. So I'll leave you with this. If you are unsure of what to do, I'm going to give you one question to reflect on. And you can journal about this, you can sit with it, you can see how you feel until we meet again. I'm a Capricorn, you know I'm going to give you homework. Stop asking, when does it get better? You're setting yourself up for failure because you will never find the answer for that. Instead, ask yourself, who do I need to become to be useful in what is now being born? Now the answer is to be yourself. But what so many people don't realize is you were taught who to be. You were programmed, you were given expectations, and your identity was handed to you more often than not by those around you, by society, by culture, by religion, by the people who loved you and thought they were doing right by you, by telling you who to be. This is your opportunity to collapse your own paradigm and find the truth in who you actually are. That's what return to self is. Remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be. And I'm here to help you do that. So until next time, you play your part and I'll play mine, and we'll do this together.